Thank you and good morning. I wasn't planning to speak on this, but I feel compelled, having spent over a decade in the classroom and listening to many people who have no idea what happens in a school. Curriculum does not include teaching students to be something else. Curriculum does not include indoctrinating students to identify as gay or LGBTQ or other or anything. But federal law mandates that all students have civil rights protections. I don't really understand what the members of this committee think happens in schools, but my question is, what do we do with these children? The children who you are saying on this committee don't exist. The children who are struggling with their identity and oftentimes confide in their teachers and ask for support and help. I can tell you that in the 15 years that I was in the classroom, any parent always had the ability to opt their child out of any lessons. There were no lessons taught meant to convert students, and much of what we're hearing here today. But I just don't understand what they think is going to happen to these students if they are in a classroom and struggling and asking a teacher for help, and a teacher says to them, "You don't exist," or "the ideology that you're referring to is not a real thing." I don't know what my colleagues think we're going to do with those students. And I have to tell you, just because you don't understand it or you've never heard of it doesn't mean it's not a thing. I would encourage you to increase your body of knowledge or expand your understanding. But just because you don't understand it doesn't mean that you have the ability to legislate these children away. I can tell you I taught history, and you want to bring everybody into the story. You want all students to feel represented. So again, my question is, what happens to these students? You are focusing on the wrong 1% here. There is a 1% in our population that is literally steamrolling the rest of the country, and what we're doing in this committee is focusing on a small population of students who are at a point in their life where they are struggling, and school may, for many of them, feel like the only safe place, or the only place where they can get support, or the only place where they can speak to a counselor. These kids are not hurting anybody. I'm not sure what your experience is in public school were, or if you were always in the majority of the population and never had to rely on a teacher or a peer or a colleague or a social worker or a support group at school just to make it through the day. I don't know what your experiences have been, but I can tell you that that is not the experience of a small handful of our students. And as a teacher, I don't care if it was just one student that I had to reassure that they were important and they were valued and they belonged here. I'm going to do it. And anyone who has dedicated their life to this profession will do the same. So the idea that you all feel okay with arbitrarily erasing, disappearing people, making them think that they don't exist or they don't have a place in schools or the curriculum should not include them or whatever they're feeling should not be valued, considered, incorporated, is just wrong. So I will not be supporting this piece of legislation as if that was not already evident. And I will be using all of my time, my agency, my energy, my advocacy to ensure that every student, not -1, not -1%, not most, but every student feels valued, respected, important, and included in the work that I engage in on this committee. And you can frame that any way you want. I know I don't have the last word, so I know somebody's going to come back trying to shift the narrative on everything I just said. But when you are in a classroom and you are a teacher and that door closes and a student falls in your arms and says to you, I am struggling and I can't go home with this information and I need help, you have a moral responsibility to help that child, or you are in the wrong profession. I yield back.
I thank the gentlelady. I now recognize the gentleman from Florida, Representative Fine.